Hello there. Welcome to this episode of the Drawing TV. In this episode, I'm going to answer a question. A while ago, I got a question from one of my followers, let's call it that. A very interesting question, and I'm going to read that question for you now, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think. I don't really have an answer to this. I think it's too deep, and we are all different, but I'll give you my thoughts on this question. So the question is, should you choose one style and stick with it, in terms of art? And how do I know if I have made the right choice? That's some really deep questions, right? I really know these questions from myself, and I've been thinking a lot about it. And again, I don't have any fixed answer, but what I think about it is let's take the first part of the question. Should I pick one style and stick with it? Then the first question is really, what is style? Is it something superficial and external, if you have a certain way of doing the lines and a certain scheme of making the faces long, or a certain color scheme, or is it oil or acrylics or crayons, or is it black and white, is it in color? All these very technical things about your art. And you could try to take make a decision about that and try to stick with it. And I certainly have been there myself, trying to take some fixed road in terms of how my art should look, but I always find out that things are more fluid than that. Art is more fluid than that. You are more fluid than that. Things are moving and changing all the time. So I think rather than looking to styles, you see, it could in the times we live in, it could be on the internet and so on. We are so exposed to other people's so-called style. But I think it's more important to ask yourself, what really matters to you? What really makes you tick? What is some key questions you ask yourself here in life? What are the things you love? Or maybe you are struggling with something. Some artists like to make art on the things they struggle with, and some artists more like to just make beautiful art that makes more sense to them. Ask yourself that kind of questions, what makes, what's important to me? And what do I, revolve around? Are you a nature lover, for example? Maybe you love nature or animals, and you really, 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 really love it, and it really means a lot to you. Then it might be natural to make art on nature. Make landscapes, or images of animals, or whatever you like. Or maybe it's something more philosophical, or some questions in life. It could be about life and death and love and more big things, emotional things. It could be something political, or many artists make political art. Maybe it's some very external things you are, really caring about, or maybe it's more internal. And then I think it's very important to ask yourself, how can I express that in art? How can I show this, or, touch it? Do you want to make some symbols you use over and over again? Some things you use in your art, for example, as symbols of love. Let's just pick one thing. It could be anything. You can choose what symbolizes this in your art. It could be something else than love. It could be anything. It's just an example. But it's more choose a set of, themes and symbols that you put in your art for a period, and then it's more that's your style. And if you do it in this particular way or that particular way, that can vary and that can change, and it's more, you give yourself more freedom then. if it's more like you figure out what really matters to you and make art on that. It can, maybe a lot of things matters to you. You have to choose something, then of course that it's more or less useful to make art out of. So you give yourself the freedom to experiment in terms of artistical expression, but you have a core that your art revolves around. And then the second part of the question is, how do you know if you made the right choice? Well, we can say it's always hard to make art. There will always be a stone in the shoe, right? It's always a little bit uncomfy, and you always have new horizons that you strive to and all that. So I think it's, you have to feel, if you feel like kind of you're on the right track and your art matters to you and you're making art about something that means something to you, more than externally try and mimic this or that particular style, because that can be a little bit of a, constraint. I don't want to feel constrained when we make art, even if we have a clear direction. So, and over time you will evolve and things will change, and so try to make some periods in your art and say, okay, I'm going to work with this like subject or subjects for a period of time, and try to investigate that and find some color schemes, some symbols and so on, so you get kind of some works of art that kind of speaks to each other. But don't try to put the strains on yourself that you have to do this forever, because that's not possible. Let's take just one example from art history. It could be a person like Picasso. I just show someone many people know, and he's easy to Google, so you can just check it out and Google Picasso's art. And he made so many different things. He made like oil paintings, big things, small things, drawings, mixed media, sculpture, whatever. He just did it all naturalistic and expressive, and he even invented his own ism and all that. But through it all, I think what binds Picasso's art together is that he made art more or less from what his world was about. I think he touched on a lot of things, but much of his art is about, strong emotions and women, and his life. He kind of drew on his personal life, the women he knew, and, it was some quite personal things, we can say, that filled his art. Some very, passionate things. And yeah, so that was one example. Another artist might revolve his art around something political, for example. I'm not going to give more practical examples, but think about things in those terms rather than try to pick an external style you've seen and try to mimic it. It's not gonna fit you right anyway. You can get some inspiration, but really try to just do your artwork the best you can, experiment with different materials and sizes and so on, and try to make your art from the heart. That's my humble thoughts about these questions. I know it's very airy, and I don't think we have a very fixed answer to this, but try to think about it. What really matters to you. And please let me know what you think about these questions. Should you choose a style and stick with it? And how do you know if it's the right choice? I'd really love to hear your thoughts. You can write me on email, and you can write me on social media. If you see this video on Facebook or YouTube or wherever, please leave a comment and tell me about your thoughts about this. It's a really nice question. So thank you for watching this rather long video, and I'll see you later. Bye.